We are live. What is up, everybody? Friendly reminder, it's Wednesday. She's Jessie. I'm Emerson. We host this show called The Sweat, and in 60 minutes, it'll all be over. But until then, let's get cooking with an 11-game slate around the NBA.
And here to chase your fade a few bets available on the DK Sportsbook is DraftKings contributor Julian Edlow, Nick Whalen of RotoWire, and Karin Phillips, senior columnist at the Shadow League.
Okay, real quick, some news just coming down, though. Jimmy Butler will not be playing for the Heat tonight due to personal reasons, so please keep that in mind. Jules?
I just think it's funny. It's the season opener. Personal reasons. He's not with the team.
Thanks
for letting us know before lock, though. That is big of you, Miami Heat, rather than just not having Jimmy Butler out there when these games start.
All right, guys, we do have some sports bets to get to. The Spurs are tonight's biggest favorites with a 10.5-point spread, minus 560 money line against the Knicks, but you never know what can happen on opening night, or maybe with this one you do. So, Jules, I want you to chase or fade. New York actually covers here.
I'll fade everything about the Knicks this season. They're 27.5, 26.5 win total, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, they're not going to win this game in San Antonio. It's a decent line. I would definitely lean with the Spurs here. But 10.5 is a lot of points. I would probably feel more comfortable using the Spurs money line as a parlay piece if there's another money line that you feel really comfortable with, or even just looking at the Knicks team total, 102 points. That's a lot of points for a team with not really any scorers. We'll see what RJ Barrett is. Julius Randle is, the prized free agent acquisition there, but I don't think against an elite defense like the Spurs, this team's going to do much scoring. So I would feel more comfortable just fading the Knicks point total.
All right, Karin, good to have you back. Start us off. Chase your fade. New York covers.
So I'm fading the Knicks as well, but like for a minute, just for like a couple seconds, I had a little bit of belief. Then I realized that this game was in San Antonio. And then I realized that my former colleague from New York Daily News, Stefan Bonnie, tweeted out, I believe it was yesterday, that they're thinking about going with Alonzo Trier at point guard, which just made me laugh hysterically. And I was like, well, the Knicks are always going to be the Knicks. But I'm fading the Knicks on this, not just because of all the stuff Julian explained, because the Knicks are terrible, but because of someone that was highly critical of Greg Popovich all summer with the blunder that Team USA was. Pop, get this right. Start the season with a win, because you've been dealing with a lot of losses lately. So I expect the Spurs big tonight.
Okay, Nick, clean sweep here.
Yeah, I think Julian said it best. I'm fading everything about the Knicks this season. I have no idea what the plan has been since July 1st, since they signed every available veteran power forward. The worry for us at RotoWire, has been projecting them. Mitchell Robinson especially is a guy we've worried about, and he's already injured, and David Fizdale has already implied that even when he's healthy, he might not be the starter. I think this rotation is going to be a complete mess. I think they don't know. They have no priorities. They have young guys they should be developing, yet the roster is stocked with Taj Gibsons and Bobby Portises and Reggie Bullocks. I think there's really not a worse matchup for a team like the Knicks than a team like the Spurs on opening night. You say what you want about San Antonio. Maybe they're not a title contender this season, but they always seem to take care of business against teams like the Knicks, and I like the Spurs to cover even that large spread.
All right, guys, the highest total on the slate is the Kings and Suns at a thick 2Cs, 233. Both teams were bottom 5 in the NBA last year in terms of allowing points. So chase or fade, we'll see the over hit here, Karin.
I'm going over just for the fact that this matchup has two shooting guards that really have stuff to prove in this game. Devin Booker, last time we heard about him was complaining about double teams and open gym. And then Buddy Hield just got paid, which I do not understand why Buddy Hield's getting all this money. But these are also two teams that don't play any defense at all, as we know. But even last season, I like what Sacramento has. I'm looking for them to take the next step this year to see if they can make a push to be a playoff contender. I know it'll be tough for them in the West, but I'm expecting major buckets tonight.
All right, Nick, are you expecting major buckets tonight too?
I am expecting major buckets. These are two teams that were in the bottom 10 in defense last season. I know Sacramento thinks they made some improvements, but honestly, I'm not convinced. Much like the Knicks, a lot of their signings were somewhat head scratchers. Adding Corey Joseph at that kind of money after a really bad year for him in Indiana. I don't know what the goal was there. And then you look at Phoenix. I think for the third straight offseason, they think they got better. But adding someone like Dario Saric, adding Ricky Rubio, adding Frank Kaminsky, those are not difference-making players, especially on the defensive end. If you want to say that they add some scoring or some playmaking in Rubio's case, I'm willing to agree with you there. But I don't think either of these teams got any better on defense. I think in a lot of ways, the Suns especially are going to be the same old Suns this year. There are going to be nights where they're hemorrhaging points. They're always up over 120. I mean, this is a game that I think even with this total should approach the over.
Jules, do you agree with these guys?
I, too, am expecting major buckets in this game. The only thing is sometimes you get a little bit of pause with an opening night game. Can it get out to a little bit of a rusty start? So if you have any hesitation on the 233, maybe you sit back and wait, get something on the live line that's a little bit more attractive. But, yeah, both of these teams were two big over teams last year, mostly because of their lack of defense. But these are fun offenses, and De'Aaron Fox is going to lead the Kings at a very fast pace, and the addition of Ricky Rubio to the Suns kind of speeds up that offense. They've been looking for a point guard for so long. Now they get Rubio, and rather than try and slow him down in Utah, they're going to speed him up the way that he likes to play in Phoenix, do a better job of getting Devin Booker the ball in the places that he needs it to score. So I do think this one has all the makings for an over, even all the way up at 233.
All right, Joel Embiid 76ers are taking on Kemba Walker Celtics in their season opener. The two gentlemen I just mentioned are projected to be the game's highest scorers, with Embiid's total listed at 27.5, Kemba's 24.5. But Nick, chase or fade, it's Kemba outscoring Embiid, going off in his green team debut.
I think Kemba will play well, but I have to go with Embiid here. I think Kemba is somebody who's probably going to try to feel out a new situation, whereas all the indications are out of Philly this year that they want this to be Embiid's team more than it's been at any point in the past. He's been their best player these last few years, but it's been a roster that's in flux. There are pieces coming in, pieces coming out, having to deal with Jimmy Butler, having to figure things out with Ben Simmons. It seems like there's finally a clear hierarchy in Philadelphia, and things are built. The addition of Al Horford, they're built for Joel Embiid to succeed on both ends of the floor. I think he's going to want to come out and have a huge night, make a statement on opening night for Philly. He says he's lost 20 pounds this offseason. We'll see if that really affects his game. He says he's going to refine his shot selection a little bit more. I'm inclined to believe him. I think this is going to be the start of a huge year for Embiid. I think both players play well, but I'll go with Embiid as the higher scorer.
Jules, Embiid has lost 20 pounds. It's going to be light out there.
He's going to be very lean, very jacked Emerson, the guy that you might want to look at this season. I'll take Embiid here. I like what Nick said about Walker coming out maybe a little bit hesitant with his new team. We saw him in the first preseason game really looking to distribute out of the gate. Kemba Walker hasn't played with any good players in his career. Now he has some decent talent around him, and he's going to look to be a real point guard. That's not to say that he's not going to score, but let's also look at the 76ers starting lineup where Josh Richardson at 6'7" is the shortest guy that they have. Everybody in Philly's starting lineup is like 9 inches taller than Kemba Walker. They're going to have some good length on him, whereas on the flip side, the guy that's good at covering Joel Embiid is now his teammate, Al Horford. We've got Enes Kanter, the Time Lord, Robert Williams, who's going to be thrown into some minutes. Boston just doesn't have anybody that can guard Embiid anymore with Al Horford now as teammate, and I think that's going to play a huge role in Embiid finding some easy buckets.
All right, Karin, what do you say? Can you make an argument here for the newest Celtic?
No, Embiid's gonna go off tonight. What are they gonna do? Put Taco Fall out there? I'd love that. But this is less about Kemba for me and Embiid going on tonight. I think this is a game where if you're Jason Tatum, you've got to be the leading scorer tonight. You have to start this season off right, coming off the sophomore slump, coming off the Team USA debacle. Because, as much as we like Kemba, and Kemba's been an all-star, and we expect him to be this point guard to lead this team that was always really talented, and we forget about everything that happened last year. If Boston is going to be who we think they can be, it has to start with Jason Tatum. So that means Jason Tatum has to start this season right to remind us of what he was during his rookie campaign.
All right, as for former Celtic Kyrie Irving, he makes his Nets debut against the T-Wolves. You can get plus 305 odds for Kyrie to score a double-double tonight. Chase or fade, he pulls that off against Minnesota, Jules.
My gut tells me no, but the plus 305 is a pretty nice number there for a double-double. You would think that obviously the assists would be the category that he would get it with. It's a really good point guard matchup, too. Point guards have played well in terms of fantasy production, at least, against Minnesota. So I really don't think he's going to do it, but I was expecting this to be more of a plus 200, plus 225 type of thing. So at plus 305, if you want to put a little splash on it, I think that's fine. But this isn't a bet, with confidence that I'm trying to break the bank with.
Where are you going on this one, Karin?
I'm going Chase. The last time we seen Kyrie Irving was at media day, and he told us how he felt in the Boston Celtics. So in game one, if I'm the starting point guard of a playoff team, I'm setting the table for everyone and making sure I get double-digit assists. Him getting 10 points, he can do that in his sleep. So I'll take Kyrie getting everybody set up tonight.
Nick, you going to take Kyrie?
I have to fade this. I'm with Julian that I do like the odds. If you want to throw a little bit of cash at it, I wouldn't say it's the worst idea. Judging from last season, and of course this was a different situation for Kyrie, but he had 18 double-doubles in 67 games. So you're looking at basically a 1 in 4 chance if you think those numbers carry over. The advantage, I guess, is that this year, this is very much Kyrie's team. Things are going to be running through him perhaps even more than they were in Boston, and there won't necessarily be the controversy around it that there was. He doesn't have a Jason Tatum and a Jaylen Brown that they're simultaneously trying to develop. So I think the ball will be in Kyrie's hands quite a bit, but the biggest factor for me is this Philly defense. Julian mentioned it with the size that they can throw at Kyrie. Josh Richardson's been functioning as their backup point guard through the preseason. So, there's a pretty good chance we'll see a 6'6", 6'7" Josh Richardson on Kyrie for a lot of this game. And I think that could end up giving Kyrie some trouble.
That's Kemba.
Oh,
We're mixing matchups.
You're right.
It's 11 games, dude. It's 11 games.
It's opening night.
I got you.
I was like, yeah, dude.
Listen, man.
Whenever Kyrie Irving does play for the Nets.
The angry bagel boss will always call people out.
That's on me.
Dude, listen, man. Whatever you say, I am just drawn to it, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do what he tells me to do, which is why we have you
Emerson's
guys talk.
very easy to convince to do things.
That's true. That's true.
That is true. Yeah, that is true. Thank you, guys. It's all good. Hey, Nick, you can make up for it when we have a DFS look at tonight's NBA slate. Jules and Karin, though, you guys are out. Have a good night. Coming up next, it's Showdown Picks for Game 2 of the World Series.
Hey, how are we? I'm Brendan Glasheen, and with this DraftKings Fantasy Flash, the Cubs are reportedly hiring one of their former players, 42-year-old David Ross, as their next manager. The former catcher was part of the Cubs' 2016 World Series team. This will be his first managerial experience after a 15-year Major League career that ended following that epic World Series. Ross expressed interest in the Cubs job right after the franchise parted ways with Joe Madden. Ross called it one of the best jobs in baseball. He's been part of some historic franchises, won a championship with the Red Sox in 2013, played for the Dodgers, as well as the Pirates, Padres, Reds, and Atlanta Braves. Ross went up to the TV booth following his retirement. He follows Yankees manager Aaron Boone, dear friend of ours, from broadcasting at ESPN to a managerial position. While, again, it's his first manager job, Ross has actually been connected to the Cubs in the front office since January of 2017, serving as the team's special assistant to baseball operations. Theo Epstein clearly wants him to stick around and believes Ross can rekindle the Cubs' championship aspirations.
All right, it is Game 2 of the World Series going down tonight in Houston, where the Astros will look to even up the series against the Nationals. We've got millions around the world looking for some help with their showdown picks, and thank the high heavens, DraftKings contributor Steve Buchanan is here to help.
Loved it.
If I recall correctly, last night everybody said that Houston was going to take this game.
I also believe everyone
You don't bet against Garrett Cole.
And everyone sided with the under.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Yeah. Oh.
Idiots. That's not Steve.
Shoot, Steve, I hope you're still here. Who's your captain's pick?
Listen, Jesse, you go back home and keep putting together your IKEA furniture, and then we'll get to something else.
Listen.
Did you finish that, by the way?
I haven't even started. Did I finish it? No. Who wants to come over and set it up? I'll buy you dinner. It's an open invitation.
Steve, who's your captain tonight?
I'm actually kind of enticed by that now. But anyways, I'm going to go with Juan Soto here. Yesterday we were kind of all in on the pitchers. That didn't particularly work out too well. So might as well change it up. What the hell? Why not, right? But Soto has been, arguably one of the Nationals' best hitters so far in the playoffs. He's batting .286, 3 home runs, 2 doubles, 10 RBIs. And then we look at what Verlander has been struggling with throughout the playoffs, throughout the regular season. That's been the home run ball. He's already given up 5 during the playoffs thus far. And then 17 of the 36 he gave up during the regular season came off of left-handed bats, and 10 of those were at home where they are tonight at Minute Maid Park. I think you can definitely pay for Juan Soto in the captain spot here. You don't necessarily have to go the pitching route like we did last night, so I really like Soto as a captain.
Okay, so who do you stack with Mr. Soto?
So I do like using Steven Strasburg, not necessarily in the captain spot, but I do think he's someone that you definitely want to be putting into your lineup. 4 games in the playoffs so far, 22 innings pitched, 4 earned runs allowed, 33 strikeouts. And look, the Astros continue to struggle on the base pass. They are simply not knocking guys in with runners in scoring position. They came into this series batting 121. We did see some life last night, but still hasn't been that consistent motion that they've been doing like we've seen all season long. And look, they just can't go down 0-2. Like, this is such a great spot for Strasburg. They go down 0-2. Of all the teams that have done so, only 3 of the 28 have come back to end up winning the World Series. So this is such a pivotal game for Strasburg, for the Houston Astros, but I think Strasburg's got the upper hand in this one.
All right, Steve, people are going to need some value, so where can they find it?
Yeah, again, we're going to be going back to one of the bullpens here. We're going to go with Sean Doolittle. If you're thinking that the Nationals are going to win this game, which is kind of what I'm on, he's been someone they've been using in the closer's position late in the games, either in the 8th or the 9th. So he's someone that you can rely upon for those late innings. He's got 8 2/3 innings so far, 2 runs allowed, 7 strikeouts throughout the playoffs, 2 saves under his belt. Daniel Hudson would be another option, but he still prices like he's a starting pitcher at 7,200. So Doolittle gives you much bigger savings at just 3,000. So if you want to get a little exposure to some late inning bullpen work, this will be the way to do so.
All right, and so who are you totally fading, though? Game 2, World Series tonight,
You're
showdown.
gonna fade.
Yeah, it's going to be Alex Bregman. I mean, he's someone that you normally wouldn't be fading, but he just simply looks lost at the plate right now. Like, he had a couple of really bad-looking at-bats last night. One particular late in the game against Tanner Rainey took a fastball almost right down the middle to go down 1-2 in the count. Then he just looked really bad on a high fastball to strike out. And, it was an opportunity where the Astros are trying to come back. So it's a really tough spot to fade Bregman, but his price simply just reflects what he did during the regular season, not necessarily during the playoffs. He hasn't looked good basically throughout the whole entire length of the playoffs so far. So he's a fade for me. It's a scary fade, but out of all the more expensive bats, I think he's the easiest one to leave on the board.
Steve, I would like you to know that loyal viewer of the program, Dylan Schmittler on Facebook, has already offered to Jessie he would be happy to unload her furniture for her.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It's actually, it's
The
already,
problem is building it.
unloaded. I
Yeah.
need somebody to build it. So
Dylan, let us know if
yeah,
you'd like
if
to
you
build
want to
her
build it.
furniture
All right,
for her.
Steve, though, you hang tight. We need you for NFL high or low after a preview of this week's top college football matchups. I got it out.
Hello, I'm Brendan Glasheen here with DraftKings contributor Julian Edlow. We are getting you ready for College Football Saturday presented by Wrangler. Julian, we've got 9 games to choose from in this contest. We're going to start with the matchup in the Big 12. 2 prolific offenses, Oklahoma State, number 23, Iowa State. How do the Cyclones avoid an upset in what could be a very high-scoring affair?
Yeah, it would have been really nice if Oklahoma State could have gotten that win last week and have a little bit more momentum coming into this one. They were kind of a letdown in that game. And then you look at Iowa State, the Cyclones coming off back-to-back road victories. That's tough to do in this league. So I just think that they're the better team. They're the more proven team. And while Oklahoma State will be hungry to bounce back from their loss, Iowa State's just too good.
All right, over in the Big Ten, number 13 Wisconsin is coming off that shocking loss to Illinois. Now the Badgers have to take on an undefeated and number 3 Ohio State team. Can they rebound from that tough L with a great performance on the road against the Buckeyes?
I think they can rebound with a good performance. If anything's going to lock Wisconsin in, it's an embarrassing loss like that. The biggest upset of the college football season so far. So the worry, though, is if Wisconsin can play that bad against a team like Illinois, then maybe they aren't that good. So I do think that Wisconsin is going to give Ohio State their best shot, but Ohio State might be the best team in the nation. I don't think it's going to matter. I think Ohio State keeps rolling.
All right, and finally, we move to the SEC for the Tiger Bowl. Number 9 Auburn and number 2 LSU. Auburn is trying to snap a 2-game losing streak to the number 2 LSU Tigers. What's it going to take for them to come out of Baton Rouge with a win?
It's going to take a pretty perfect game because LSU has been near perfect so far this season, and it's because that passing game. Joe Burrow, probably the Heisman favorite at this point. He's got great guys to throw the ball to, and I just don't see this Auburn defense, although good, stopping the LSU Tigers offense. So I think that LSU, a team that's going to make a lot of noise in the college football playoff, and get the win here.
He is DK Live's Julian Edlow, DraftKings contributor. I am Brendan Glasheen. That is a look at some of Saturday's top college football matchups presented by Wrangler.
It's been like 24 hours since we last played NFL High or Low, and people are jonesing for more, and we are delivering once again, as we do.
Yes, DraftKings contributors Jeff Ulrich, Reed Bowler, Steve Buchanan. Please tell us if the following Week 8 NFL spreads are too high or too low.
That's right. The Lions lost their starting running back, traded away their defensive leader, but are still 6.5-point home favorites over the Giants. So too high or too low, Jeff?
I think this one's a little bit too high. I don't really like the route that Detroit's taking these days, trading away starting players. I mean, I don't think you should ever – that's ever a bullish signal as far as a team and what they think their chances are the rest of the year. Detroit's kind of had their chances this year. They haven't been able to get over the hump. They've had troubles in various areas. I mean, whether it's stopping the run, whether it's just converting touchdowns. I do think that overall they're a better team than New York, but again, they just lost their starting running back. They're down their safety. New York is coming back with Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones at quarterback, who is at least getting more experience by the week. I think the spread is actually a little bit too big at this point. This one has changed so many times already during the week that it's hard to keep up, but I kind of like the Giants to keep this close this week.
Reed, do you agree? It's a bit too high here?
No, and I like that dramatic reading of too high or too low by Emerson there.
Gentlemen, I was just waiting for you to pop up on the
Too
monitor
low.
next to our desk, and it did not happen.
I know, strategic pauses there. Like, I'll argue the other side that it's too low right now, and I get what Jeff is saying. Like, you lose a couple of key players on both sides of the ball if you're the Detroit Lions, but a fifth-round pick, that's nothing. So they obviously saw something in Quandre Diggs that they didn't want, and they sent him off to Seattle for a fifth-round pick. So that doesn't scare me a little bit. That doesn't worry me too much. And Kerryon Johnson, look, we know what Bevel wanted to do coming into the season and running the ball, but they haven't really run the ball that efficiently with Kerryon Johnson. 3.3 yards per carry. It's not that high in terms of attempts or yards. And so, yes, it's a downgrade losing Kerryon Johnson, but the Giants' defense is terrible. I mean, they're 27th in rush DVOA. They give up a ton of yards on the ground. And so, really, when you look at the running back landscape for the Lions, it doesn't scare you too much that they lost them. They're doing it through the air. Like, the Detroit Lions are doing it through the air, which is weird to say, but they're getting it done. I think they should be up to 7. If it hasn't already moved, I think it should be up to 7. So I'm going to say it's too low.
Steve, too high, too low, just right.
Yeah, let's move it up to 7. We definitely want to do that for the Lions. Look, they're 4-2 against the spread, and that's fine. But when they're covering, they are barely covering the spread. I mean, look at the games that they have under their belt. They beat the Chargers by 3, beat the Eagles by 3, lost to the Packers by 1, lost to the Chiefs by 1. The Lions are not a team I want to be putting 6.5 points against, even with the Giants. The Giants are nothing great against the spread. They're 2-5 on the season, but man, this just feels like a high spread for a team that just does not do well, doesn't win games by much, doesn't lose games by much. I understand the Giants are nothing sexy. You don't necessarily want to be putting your money on them, but I will take the Giants with a healthy Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones moving it with the legs. I will take that over the Lions, who are just completely undependable when it comes to the spread. Like I said, I know they're 4-2, but they're just barely squeaking by at this point.
Alrighty, Reed, the Eagles coming off an ugly loss to division rival Dallas, now underdogs in Buffalo. Wow. That spread too high or too low? In other words, I mean, really, should the Bills be favored here?
Yeah, this one's really interesting, and it's really like who got embarrassed more, right? The Eagles or the Bills giving up. And kudos to Steve there with his hot take saying that the Bills the Bills are going to give up those points to the Dolphins. But at the same time, it's like the Bills right now, with what their run defense is supposed to be, they're giving up touchdowns quite a bit in terms of what they're doing. And so, yes, I like that defense, but there is some kinks in that defense that you can exploit. And You look at the Eagles on the road; they can score a ton of points. So right now, I'm going to say this is a little too high. I think this is really could come down to a pick 'em. I know the Eagles haven't showed any sort of confidence in betting them, but they're just the better team right now. Deshaun Jackson, if he's getting healthier, we'll see the reports. That is definitely something to keep an eye out for. But I'm going to say this is too high. I think this is more of a pick 'em.
Should this be closer to a pick 'em, Steve?
This is too low. Too low. Eagles stink, man. They're absolutely horrific. Their secondary is just so bad. They got their big upgrade last week. Jalen Mills, he's back there. Let's see what he did and win his big return here. He was targeted against 8 times, allowed 6 receptions for 72 yards. Woo! That's what they were missing. That's what that secondary really needed to improve once again. This team is awful. The Bills 1.5 is a steal right now. I will take Josh Allen. I will take John Brown. They should run train all over this Eagles defense, if that's what you want to call it. I understand the Eagles have a wonderful run defense, and that's fine. Josh Allen can throw the ball plenty of times against his team. He should have plenty of success against that. They are 4-2 against the spread this year. Too low. I'll take this. What?
You're the same guy who said Josh Allen is going to make his half dozen mistakes against Miami, a worse defense than Philly. Now you're going to say you're going to trust him against probably a better defense, I would imagine, than the Eagles?
A better defense?
Or you don't think the Eagles are a better defense than Miami?
At this point, no.
All right.
I mean, Steve could be onto something here, though. Bills 7-2 against the spread. I know you mentioned like 4-2 or something this year, 5-2, but 7-2 against the spread in their past 9 games dating back to last season. So, Jeff, which side of this do you sit on?
Yeah, this is an interesting game. I think it's going to be an interesting game. I'm going to side with the Eagles. I think looking at all the metrics here, the Buffalo doesn't really have a great offensive line. Philadelphia's defensive line is kind of the strength of their defense, although it hasn't really been that great either. I do think the Eagles are going to be able to get some pressure on defense, and it's not like Josh Allen is Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes back there picking apart bad secondaries. This isn't a slam dunk for a big day for Josh Allen because he's just not that accurate a quarterback. Doesn't mean he can't get off and connect with John Brown for a couple big plays, but it's not a slam dunk that he's going to be able to take care of this soft spot. So all things considered, I don't think the Eagles are quite as bad as Steve thinks. I do think they have the coaching advantage at the very least. So in a close game, I'll say the spread right now should probably be a pick 'em, and Buffalo shouldn't really be favored at all.
All right, the Texans host the Raiders and are 6.5-point favorites. Both teams coming off losses. So is this too high or too low, Steve?
I kind of like where this is at, actually, honestly, right now. I mean, I like the spot for Houston. I think it's a very fair line. I mean, look, both teams are struggling defensively. And then when you kind of come down to that, you're just basing it off talent. And Houston is by far the superior team when you matching them up against the Raiders. I know Will Fuller is out there, but I think that should be a much more expanded role. QT, which should be something that they should be implementing even when Fuller is healthy. I think QT is an excellent receiver, and I think this would be a really good spot for him. Houston's 4-3 against the spread, and they're still a little banged up. I haven't seen what the status of Terrell Williams is coming into this game thus far. He's kind of their big red zone target. They finally started to feed the ball to Waller in the red zone, but at the end of the day, it feels like if you can stop Waller, well, you're basically taking out the number 1 target for Derek Carr. If he has nobody to throw to, then what does he do then? He's going to ground and pound with Josh Jacobs. We haven't really seen that so far this year. So I like this spot for Houston, but I think the line is really perfectly set here so far.
Jeff, just right for you? Too high, too low?
I'm going to say it's just a little bit too big. I'm going to give some credit to the Oakland Raiders here, even though it's really a dangerous move on my part. I can't really figure out if the Raiders are good or not, although it really does feel like they've got some good elements to their team. Their defense has been good in spot. Their offense has actually been pretty efficient. They've been able to run the ball even against good teams, which has kind of shocked me a little bit. Their offensive line is actually one of the best in the league right now, and I think that might be the difference in this game. If they can run the ball a little bit. Will Fuller is also out for Houston, which I think is kind of a factor. I think it's going to just cause, again, just make it a little bit easier on the Oakland secondary. They don't have to guard against as many big plays there. So 6.5, I think I'd side with the Raiders here. I think this should just be a little bit smaller for Houston, a team that I still think has a lot of flaws and hasn't been a great cover team in their history with Bill O'Brien either. So I'd lean Oakland in this one right now.
Reed, you gonna lean towards Oakland in this one?
Yes, I am. And if you just look at what Jeff was saying too, and both of these guys with Will Fuller, I mean, the Houston Texans score 11 points less with Will Fuller out of the game, and that's huge. And when you look at like the Raiders and what you want to exploit, it's that deep ball. I mean, they get attacked on the deep ball the most. They give them 8 touchdowns of over 20 yards, 60% completion, and that's really what Houston wanted to do with Will Fuller. So in that spot, Kenny Stills, I think for DFS is a great play. For season long, if you can pick him up, I think he's a great play. But I think the Raiders, look, they're never good in Green Bay. They always play like trash in Green Bay. They haven't beat them since the 80s. And so I don't worry too much about that. So give me the Raiders here.
All right, guys, here's an interesting one. Less than a week after dislocating his kneecap, Patrick Mahomes, he was back at practice today. Hold on one second. I just saw an update, right? He was officially limited in practice today. Andy Reid did tell reporters, Matt Moore would still take a majority of the team reps. But Reid right now refusing to rule out his franchise quarterback. But as of now, Kansas City, a 4.5-point underdog at home to the Packers. Sunday Night Football. That spread too high or too low, Jeff?
I mean, we're basically asking us to like look in our crystal balls here and try and get a gauge
right?
on Patrick
This is
Mahomes
tough.
Because I'll say this: if Matt Moore starts at quarterback, the spread is too low. We got to start giving credit to the Packers, and we also have to start giving credit back to Aaron Rodgers, who again is playing at one of the highest levels in the league. I mean, Matt Moore versus Aaron Rodgers. I don't even really care about the rest of the teams. It should not be just 4.5. I mean, it's that simple. It really comes out. You saw it last week with Derek Carr. You saw it versus Aaron Rodgers. Similar situation with Mahomes versus Flacco. Like when you're getting a decent team with a good defense, and Green Bay is a top 10 DVOA in defense right now, then when you put Aaron Rodgers back there, you're just going to get a solid team. And I like the Chiefs. I think they're getting pressure on the quarterback, which could definitely be a factor in this game. But I think if Matt Moore starts 4.5 is too low. Obviously, if Mahomes comes back, and even if he's 80%, I think the spread will move closer to at least a pick 'em. But right now, it's too low.
This is insane. The dude broke his knee less than a week ago. Like, what the hell is going on? Reid, the difference here, I mean, Matt Moore plays compared to if, like, Mahomes, I think we'd be lucky to see him at 80%.
Yeah, I mean, we see like with these guys, some guys just recover faster, and that's what we're kind of seeing with Saquon Barkley on a high ankle sprain coming back in 3 weeks. And Patrick Mahomes was already walking off the field and wanted to play. Your reports came out that he wanted to get back into the game. And I'm sure that's a lot of adrenaline. I'm sure he wants to play. But I still think that, to what Jeff was saying, that I think this is too low right now. I think it should be a little bit higher than this. But really, if you talk about these key injuries like Patrick Mahomes, you have Devontae Adams out on the other side. Chris Jones, that the defensive interior lineman for Kansas City, if he's not playing, that really sides me more with Green Bay that this should be higher, because even though they're going into Arrowhead, Chris Jones is a huge part of that defense. And if he's not playing, look what Houston did. They ran for 192 yards and 470 total yards on Kansas City a couple weeks ago. And well, the Broncos suck, so we can just take that out of it. But that defense really needs him. And so if he's still out along with Mahomes, I think this spread should be higher.
All right, Steve, how do you approach this?
So the interesting thing is, let's just say that it's going to be Matt Moore here. So would that mean that they're maybe potentially running the ball more? And if that's the case, like the Packers' run defense has been absolutely horrible. Like you look at fantasy points allowed, they're just under the Bengals. So we all know the Bengals are by far the worst in the league. So there's that to think about at one point. I'm not sold on this Packers secondary yet either. When you look at the numbers that they've given up, fantasy points wise, it's not a huge number, but there was those 2 good weeks they had against the Broncos and the Eagles. They allowed a total of 148 yards, only 1 touchdown. But after that, everything else is, they haven't really shut any other team down. We saw the Cowboys go for that ridiculous game where they had over 400 yards or whatever it was against them. So I'm not sold that the Packers secondary is this shutdown one that I think a lot of people think of. So as of right now, I still think it's just a little too low. I think that the Chiefs are just absolutely loaded with talent, even with Matt Moore under there. And if they choose to run the ball, like I said, this is a team that you want to run the ball against. So, I'm still undecided. There's still so many, things that we have to consider at this point. But Chiefs as underdogs since last season, 3-0-1 against the spread. Obviously, that's with Mahomes. But if somehow Mahomes plays, you're getting a massive discount here that you normally would never, ever have gotten. So I think it's something you really have to think about.
All right, you three are good to go. We'll dive deep into a teeny tiny NHL slate right after my conversation with Cowboys alum Nate Newton. I've got a special guest joining me right now on the program. Former Cowboy Nate Newton is here. Nate, thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you for having me, man.
All right, now before we get to today's Cowboys team, let's take a little trip down memory lane. So you had an incredible career in Dallas. You're a 3-time champ, a 6-time Pro Bowler, and a 2-time All-Pro. Now, I'm sure it was a combination of many things, but if you had to credit your success to one of your skills, what would it be?
My run blocking. My run blocking was nice. I was dominant in that way. I handled people real well. I can move people off the ball. And, of course, we had Emerson Smith, leading rusher of all time, the greatest. And so my run blocking skills was dominant. I was just an average pass blocker.
So you guys won 3 out of 5 Super Bowls back in the 90s. Now, when you were younger, dreaming of going pro, did you ever think that you'd be that successful, or was it a situation where reality was even crazier than anything you could have imagined?
Well, for me, you know, I wasn't drafted. I was a free agent. And by being a free agent, you know, you just wanted to make the team, get on special teams, and help out any way you can. But when I became a starter for my team, the Dallas Cowboys, since I was 11 years old, in 1970, 71, being a Cowboy, playing professional football, being a Dallas Cowboy, the team that you cheered for and revered, man, I was in heaven. I mean, my reality never caught up with my fantasy because and I'm still in it right now because I'm still a part of the Dallas Cowboys.
And that's incredible. And you kept some elite company back in the day. What's your favorite memory of playing with Hall of Famers Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith?
Great. These guys, one thing that would impress me about these guys, they were mature for their ages. Troy Aikman came in knowing that where he wanted to be and that he wanted to win Super Bowls. Emmitt Smith came into the league, believe it or not, with that desire to be the greatest running back ever, you know, to be a rushing champion. Now, these guys will tell you, nah, I always thought it would be something else, this, that, and the other, and I never dreamed this. I talked to these guys personally during their careers when they were in their prime and saw the focus and dedication, the work ethic that they had. So these guys met their goals and in some cases exceeded their goals.
Let's get to this year's Cowboys squad. They just dominated the Eagles on Sunday night to take the lead in the NFC East. Do you think they'll hang on to that spot? Yes,
it'll be easy. I mean, right now, and I hate to say this because I don't want to jinx our team, but Philadelphia is in disarray. And I was hoping that we could become first in the NFC East because that one more loss would have put our team in disarray, would have put doubts in the minds of our players. By beating the Eagles, that gave them a psychological edge, you know that they can do it. So when they go down there and see them, I think in November or December, that they'll have a chance to win that game. And more importantly, it reinforces what the coach has been trying to say about staying the course, being who you are, being enthusiastic about playing the game. That's what those guys went out and exemplified. We have a young team. Believe it or not, we average around between the ages of 24 and 26. And but even though we're young, we have veteran guys like Leighton Vander Esch. It's his second year. Jalen, this is his third year. You got young studs that can go out and take over games and dominate. With the acquisition of Amari Cooper from last year, Michael Gallup growing up the way he's growing up, Zeke Elliott being the guy that we know he is, and our offensive line, they can just stay healthy and they play with the right attitude and determination and intensity. These guys should go very far in the playoffs. Regular season just don't matter.
All right, well, it's been over a month since Jerry Jones said a deal with Dak Prescott was imminent. No deal's been made. I mean, do you believe Dak is the real deal and deserves to be paid like an elite quarterback?
Yes, ma'am. You know, elite doesn't – what I think of elite, ma'am, it's not about the money. It's about what you do on the field. And Dak leads this team, you know, and when we have games like we had against Philadelphia where he weaponizes himself and the staff allows him to be weaponized. And what I mean by that, he can run, he can pass, he can throw, and let him do that. Let him do all three. It should not be ever a game where Dak goes into a game and not take off and run a little bit and not throw the ball. Don't be scared to throw the ball. A lot of people throw the ball, but don't be scared to throw the ball. Let it go. If we need to win a game and he needs to pass 40 times, let him do it. Let's go out and let this guy just flourish. I mean, you see a different guy. His techniques are better. His skill set is outstanding this year. His decision making is getting better and better over time. I mean, he has the weapons. You just got to let it go and energize himself.
Hello, I'm Brendan Glasheen here with DraftKings contributor Julian Edlow. We are getting you ready for College Football Saturday presented by Wrangler. Julian, we've got 9 games to choose from in this contest. We're going to start with the matchup in the Big 12. 2 prolific offenses, Oklahoma State, number 23, Iowa State. How do the Cyclones avoid an upset in what could be a very high-scoring affair?
Yeah, it would have been really nice if Oklahoma State could have gotten that win last week and have a little bit more momentum coming into this one. They were kind of a letdown in that game. And then you look at Iowa State, the Cyclones coming off back-to-back road victories. That's tough to do in this league. So I just think that they're the better team. They're the more proven team. And while Oklahoma State will be hungry to bounce back from their loss, Iowa State's just too good.
All right, over in the Big Ten, number 13, Wisconsin is coming off that shocking loss to Illinois. Now the Badgers have to take on an undefeated and number 3 Ohio State team. Can they rebound from that tough L with a great performance on the road against the Buckeyes?
I think they can rebound with a good performance. If anything's going to lock Wisconsin in, it's an embarrassing loss like that. The biggest upset of the college football season so far. So the worry, though, is if Wisconsin can play that bad against a team like Illinois, then maybe they aren't that good. So I do think that Wisconsin is going to give Ohio State their best shot, but Ohio State might be the best team in the nation. I don't think it's going to matter. I think Ohio State keeps rolling.
All right, and finally, we move to the SEC for the Tiger Bowl. Number 9, Auburn, and number 2, LSU. Auburn is trying to snap a 2-game losing streak to the number 2 LSU Tigers. What's it going to take for them to come out of Baton Rouge with a win?
It's going to take a pretty perfect game because LSU has been near perfect so far this season, and it's because that passing game, Joe Burrow, probably the Heisman favorite at this point, he's got great guys to throw the ball to, and I just don't see this Auburn defense, although good, stopping the LSU Tigers offense. So I think that LSU, a team that's going to make a lot of noise in the college football playoff, and get the win here.
He is DK Live's Julian Edlow, DraftKings contributor. I am Brendan Glasheen. That is a look at some of Saturday's top college football matchups presented by Wrangler. Interrupting your hump day, it's Brendan Glasheen, and with the DraftKings Fantasy Flash, you could argue the Lions are having the most frustrating season of all 32 NFL teams. Detroit's been in all 7 of its games, a tie to open the year, okay, followed by a pair of wins. All right, 2-0-1, decent start, right? Since Chiefs led 10-zip after 1 quarter, lost. Packers and Lambeau, do I have to say more? Lost. And the Vikings this past Sunday within 4 points with 6 minutes to go. Lost. Now it's Wednesday. The team has since placed running back Kerryon Johnson on injured reserve after a procedure done on his right knee. There is hope he can return this season. Johnson's good news, though, was soured later on. The Lions traded starting safety Quantra Diggs to the Seahawks. The deal stunned his teammates, including Johnson. Here's a tweet from Johnson. Well, this has been a tough day personally. My dog, I'ma miss the hell out of you, Q Diggs 6. It was a surprising trade considering Diggs signed a 3-year extension last season. Head coach Matt Patricia and his staff have said all the typical stuff since all this. Guys are going to step up. They're going to have opportunities, yada, yada, yada. But man, 3 straight L's, starting running back goes down, and a key piece of the defense is dealt, all within 72 hours. Lions host the Giants on Sunday. We'll see how they respond.
All right, we're looking at quality, not quantity, when it comes to tonight's NHL slate. Just 2 games on the docket, but we still have a few questions for Chris Wassel of Awesemo.com.
Indeed, we do. NHL opening face-off. You know the drill, dude. Choose between the top options at each position. And Sidney Crosby, the top price center at $7,200. No one else over $7K. But you can find Detroit's Dylan Larkin and Tampa's Braden Point in the $6K range. Where would you look tonight?
Hey, you can't go wrong with Sidney Crosby. I mean, look, it wasn't fair what happened the other night against Florida. You had every stat going for you. You had the 15 points in the last 9 games. You had the 10 goals on 30 shots. You had all sorts of numbers that just said Sidney Crosby's going to go off. And then he didn't. Sometimes it just happens, unfortunately. He's still in a very good matchup tonight. Look, Tampa Bay's giving up 3.5 goals a game. They're not scoring at what they used to last year. I mean, look, Colorado just pasted them 6-2 over the weekend. I mean, there are goals to be had. Yes, Pittsburgh has 0 depth left. I mean, they have 6 regulars out. I mean, we could be sitting here right now and they're skating in warm-ups and somebody could get hurt. That's how crazy it's been in Pittsburgh, unfortunately.
All right, on the wing, it's a couple of lightning rods leading the way in salary with Nikita Kucherov at $7,500 and Steven Stamkos at $7,200. You likely won't play both, or would you? So who's your preference? You going to try to play both?
And the first commandment of myself, I will sit there and always pick Nikita Kucherov above all else, especially in a game like tonight where Pittsburgh, like we said, has no defense, and they're trotting out a third pairing in the name of Eric Goodbranson and Jack Johnson. So if John Cooper does not attack this pairing, he should be fired immediately as head coach because they really are that bad. Try to draw penalties off them, take advantage of the power play, etc. Do whatever you have to do to get your main guys, i.e. Kucherov and Stamkos, to go off. And tonight it should be Kucherov.
Oh, man, here we go. That's for the Blue Line crew. Chris Letang, Thomas Chabot, Victor Hedman. They're your top options. Are you choosing one of that trio or looking elsewhere?
I'd love to go off the reservation with Philip Roenick from Detroit, for example.
Yeah, do it.
But we're going to do it tonight. This is one of those nights where you can, hey, it's 2 games. You can get a little bit cute, and it's not going to kill you because a lot of the contests are smaller tonight. Let's be honest. I mean, I was surprised when the 2-man just filled up as I was coming in. So that was a little bit of a surprise for me. But and then that way I can sit there, take Roenick. I can take Roenick, and then I can pop in a Letang for a little over $6,000 and not feel like I'm spending all my money on defense.
Well, 2-game slate, so obviously only 4 goalies to choose from. Who's in the best spot in your opinion for tonight?
These are the meanest kind of questions.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
Yeah, you did.
So few choices. You know what, though? Anders Nielsen is actually in the best position. I can't believe I'm saying a player from Ottawa is in the best position for anything, but on a night like this, they are. Look, Detroit at home yesterday got pasted by Vancouver. Look, with all due respect to Vancouver, Vancouver's a pretty good team, but you don't give up 5 third-period goals to Vancouver. It's like the first rule of Fight Club. You don't talk about Fight Club. And nobody knows what happened last night in Detroit, but it was bad. Ottawa, for all their problems, Ottawa plays games pretty close for the most part, and they did beat Tampa Bay even once upon a time. So, look, Detroit's not as good. Their defense is not as good. However, Ottawa will give up just enough shots. 30-plus shots. Hey, you get close to that save bonus, and Nielsen has in a couple starts this year. It's always worth a shot for the money.
All right, we're going to save the best for last here. Hope you don't hate this question, rather. Your slate-approved pick is who? So this is your must-start tonight.
This is ye must start. Okay, here it goes. We're on the spot because this guy has struggled for his standards, and that, of course, is Nikita Kucherov. I can't believe Kucherov is only averaging 11.1 DK points a game. I can't. I saw it today, actually last night, and I had to see it again today just for my own eyes. I mean, I could not believe how off his numbers are. And the funny thing is, his scoring chances per 60 are right around where they were at the start of last year. Shots are down a little bit, but attempts are right there. So he's just not hitting the net. It's a matter of time with him, like with a lot of Tampa Bay. These are guys that do not shoot in single digits normally, and they are shooting in single digits mostly because they're missing shots and chances galore. That eventually is going to stop, and they are going to start scoring. That 3.6 goals per game average probably should be around 4. So it's Kucherov tonight.
Got to roll with Kucherov. Thank you so much, Chris.
Adios,
we appreciate
Wassel.
it, as always.
Hey, it's good to be back.
It's good to have you back, man. We're pumped. All right, we're moving straight on to NBA here. So congrats to everybody who made it this far. Maybe you didn't, but this is the final block of the show tonight. Wrapping it up, like I said, with our NBA panel consisting of RotoWire's Nick Whalen and Ryan. I can't say your last name. Please say it for me. Oh, no, we don't have volume from you.
Oh, no, the tease, the anticipation.
Yeah,
we got you now.
Okay, it's pronounced Smog, Josh. I don't blame you for not being correct. It looks like a nightmare.
I just really wanted to hear you say it before I attempted it and just completely embarraised myself. So thank you, Ryan.
What does he do? And what does he do?
Yeah.
And what does he do?
Oh,
He's
right,
the host
of the Four Seasons podcast
There
of
you
all
go.
his life. There we go.
Okay.
All right.
Now that we got that out of the way, all right, it's NBA building blocks, guys. This is when you tell us who you are building your lineups around tonight, position by position, okay? So, Nick, we'll start with you. Your building block at center is going to be who?
It's going to be Kristaps Porzingis of the Dallas Mavericks. Of course, this is his debut for his new team. This is the first time we're going to see Porzingis in about a year and a half. It's been forever, and I think he's going to want to come out and make a statement. He looked great. At least I thought during the preseason. Was a little bit up and down numbers-wise, but I think he's going to come out against a Wizards team that really has very few options to slow him down. I mean, not many teams have anyone that can match up with Porzingis in terms of size, but I mean, this is a team that top to bottom, not just looking at the center position, is really, really barren in terms of depth. I mean, I like Thomas Bryant, but he's a little bit undersized to deal with someone like Porzingis. And beyond him, you're talking Rui Hachimura, you're talking a second-year guy in Mo Wagner, who really didn't play much last year. Jan Mahimi's not even active for Washington. So I just don't know who they're going to throw at Kristaps Porzingis. The Mavs are also down Dwight Powell. I know there's some concern about how much they'll limit Porzingis' workload in the long term, but to me, that's not really a concern when you're just looking at tonight's game. I think he could have a huge game against what should be a pretty bad Wizards defense.
Yeah, pretty good price too, $8,200. So Ryan, what about you, man? Who's your guy at center?
So I'm going to save my top tier center for a little bit later in the show when we talk about absolute locks for tonight.
Yeah,
but
love it.
My second tier is got to be Andre Drummond. No Blake Griffin tonight. He's playing the Pacers, who his matchup's going to be Miles Turner, who is a good defender, but a little bit more perimeter oriented. Drummond has negative perimeter game. He's going to be down low on the blocks, banging bodies. So I like that matchup as far as against Miles Turner and him getting every single rebound possible.
All right, what about at forward here, Ryan? Who are you going with?
Ooh.
So last night with the two games that were played, that was like the forward slate. You got Pascal Siakam, Kawhi Leonard, you got LeBron James. Maybe you guys have heard of those guys.
Yeah, we have.
Tonight, not great at forward, but call me crazy, I like Gordon Hayward tonight. Primetime game, Philly-Boston. And people are thinking, well, Philly's got this amazing, talented, scary defense. Yeah, they do. But his matchup's probably going to be Tobias Harris, who is not known for his perimeter defense or defense at all. And I think Gordon Hayward's chomping at the bit to put last year behind him. I think he averaged like 11 points, something like that. He's going to get back to his all-star ways this year, and this is the first game he's going to show it.
Nick, who you going with at forward?
I like the Hayward pick. I think he's due for a bounce back this year, but I'm going to go Lauri Markkanen. He's at 7,800. And for me, this is mostly about the matchup. I mean, I think Charlotte is going to be an abomination in a number of regards this season. There's a lot of veterans on this team, I know, but I don't trust them defensively. And looking at Markkanen specifically, I mean, this is a guy who, when healthy, has been a go-to scorer, a guy who averaged over 6 3-point attempts per game, shot around 37% from three last season, an elite rebounder for his size, not somebody who is really, a rebounding vacuum at the college level, but he's been much better than expected in that regard. He blocks some shots, he gets some steals, every now and then he'll hand out 4 or 5 assists. So I like Lauri Markkanen tonight at 7,800.
All right, so from center to forward to guard, Nick.
I'm going De'Aaron Fox. I think this is a great price for someone who is up over 8,000 for much of last season. And again, a great matchup. I mean, this is by far the highest over-under on the slate today. And it goes up against a Phoenix team that's really struggled defensively for what seems like the 9th straight season. Fox is my early season most improved player pick. I think he has another level to go after making a huge leap last season. Percentages were way up shooting-wise, both from the field and from three. Assists were way up. Turnovers were way down. And the biggest thing to me is he really, really improved his free throw rate from year 1 to year 2, from 0.25 to 0.38. I know with decimals, it doesn't really sound like it's all that much, but 13 percentage points when you look at it that way is a huge, huge leap. And again, I love this matchup against Phoenix. De'Aaron Fox has had success against Ricky Rubio in the past, and beyond Rubio, I just don't know who Phoenix has to throw at a guy who's really going to try to get the ball and run in transition as much as possible.
All right, Ryan, talk to me.
Yeah, I like the Fox pick a lot, and I figured somebody on here would say Fox, so I have a backup plan.
Ooh.
I'm going Lillard, Damian Lillard, primetime television. I'm a sucker for that. I think I know players are aware that the nation is watching them play on primetime television. This game happens to be on ESPN. Lillard, of everybody, knows that. Also, they're playing the Nuggets, who preseason everybody's crowning as the Western Championship champions already. I think Dame wants to slow those talks down and has a chip on his shoulder tonight.
Nice, Dame, the pride of Weber State.
Yes.
Just an FYI.
Wow, thanks, Emerson, for that scintillating bit of information. All right, your favorite super value play is going to be who, Ryan?
Yes, this is my favorite question that you guys asked me tonight.
Oh, great stuff,
super
Jessie.
Cheap. Yes, super cheap. Tyler Hero. Have you guys watched him in preseason? He looks lights out. Now, Dion Waiters is suspended. I think it's only one game, but what better opportunity now? And I see Tyler Hero right here on the screen, 4,800. Great value. He looked like a preseason all-star, and they're playing the Grizzlies tonight, who might be one of the worst teams in the league.
Very true. Nick, who you going with for your super value play?
I like Satoransky in Chicago at 5,300. I'm a little bit worried about how they're going to use him, or how they're going to use Chris Dunn and Kobe White, whether they really do go to a 3-point guard system. But at this price, I don't think you can go wrong. I mean, this is the same price, 5,300, that you're paying for Dwayne Bacon. I would much rather have Satoransky. And then the other guy real quick is Maxi Kleber. He's at 4,200 for Dallas. No Dwight Powell. Kleber's not a guy who has the highest ceiling, but they're really not going to have a choice but to play him increased minutes tonight.
All right, gentlemen, time to wrap us up with your slate-approved picks or your lock. Absolute gotta start for tonight's 11-game slate. Nick, you start us off.
It's got to be Justice Winslow, 5,800. No Jimmy Butler, no Dion Waiters, no James Johnson. I think we're expecting Justice Winslow as of now to probably slot in on the wing. There's been some talk of him playing point guard, maybe starting at point guard at times. I think tonight they're going to need him to play 2 or 3 positions at least. Usually doesn't offer a ton of upside as a scorer, but great all-around guy. And this could be one of those nights where just based out of necessity, we could see him play 35, 36, 37 minutes.
All right, Ryan, I remember what you said at the top of this segment. I think you're going with the center position.
I sure am.
Who
That's
is
great
it?
awareness by you.
Thank
I'm
you.
going Joel Embiid against an atrocious, bad Celtics interior defense.
Oh, yeah.
They've had problems in the pick and roll. Brad Stevens has been quoted as saying that he hates his low post defense right now.
Ooh.
And possibly the worst matchup on planet Earth for the Celtics with these problems is Joel Embiid, who I think is the most talented center in the entire NBA. Look for him to absolutely feast tonight. I'm talking 30 and 20 tonight.
Yeah, I actually remember Julian saying at the top of the show that it kind of sucks for the Celtics because Al Horford, who was the best at covering Joel Embiid before, is now a teammate of Joel Embiid.
Right.
Real quick, would you like to react to the Jimmy Butler news? Him not being in the lineup tonight because of personal reasons for the Miami Heat?
Personal reasons.
Ryan?
I have no idea what that could even be,
Right.
but I know the guys that are next up in line are really willing for an opportunity, like Tyler Hero.
He's just getting an extra workout in, Jimmy Butler
Yeah.
is. He's getting an extra workout in
All right.
before the season starts.
Well, gentlemen, good stuff. Ryan, it was good having you on the show, man. Hope to have you around here more often. We need a lot of help during basketball season.
Absolutely. I'll be ready for you guys.
Cool.
All right,
Good stuff.
guys. Yeah,
And
thank you
too,
so
Nick.
much. Yeah, Nick,
We
good
always
stuff,
love you, man.
as always. This show will be back tomorrow, where we'll probably talk more basketball tomorrow.
Yeah, you're here tomorrow?
6 p.m., yeah,
Sweet.
it's
I'm
Thursday.
here. Let's go, kid.
We'll see everybody tomorrow, 6 p.m.